What was your most difficult challenge when Marianne first became ill?
When she first became ill, I would have to say my most difficult challenge probably was fear of the unknown. We had no clue what was wrong with her. The doctors had no clue what was wrong with her. Her kidneys were failing. She was going to the hospital, it seemed like every 2 weeks for blood transfusions, and we couldn't get a diagnosis. We didn't know how soon she was going to have to go on dialysis, if at all, because of her kidneys failing. That was a tough challenge. That was a real tough challenge, trying to really deal with the fear of the unknown and wonder when she would get better, if at all.
What were your concerns when dealing with insurance companies?
You know, I had quite a few concerns, but probably one of my bigger concerns would be just wondering if they were going to pay something or not. Because her disease was so unique, so specific to the treatments we needed. We had to go out of state. We had to actually go to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. And, just wondering, are we going to get a bill in the mail for, $30,000 next month for everything they did? Or is the insurance company going to pay for this? Because nobody really looks into their insurance policies until you really need them. And we really needed them. We needed them to come to bat for us. And they did come to bat for us, but it was always something that we did have a little bit of concern about, wondering if they were going to pay and how much they were going to pay.
What's it like being Marianne's caregiver on a daily basis?
Well, I won't kid you, but being a caregiver on a daily basis is not easy. But we do have a lot of good times. She has a lot of good days and a lot of bad days. One of the biggest concerns with Marianne's disease is that she can't be exposed to any cold weather. So we have to make sure that the car is warmed up before we go out anywhere. I go upstairs every night and warm up the bedroom before we go to bed. We're going out places. I drop her right off at the door and go and park the car. I go and get the car and pick her up so she can come right back in the car. It's really not as bad as it seems. It really is not. It's just makes life a little interesting sometimes, I would say. But all in all, being Marianne's caregiver is not too bad, because also she's a good patient.
What advice would you give other caregivers?
I think point blank, I would tell other caregivers, you have to try and make a life for yourself outside of your sick spouse. Doesn't mean you forget about them, doesn't mean you're not there for them, because you're there for them all the time. But I had to start doing things on my own. I started learning to play the guitar all over again. Got together with a couple of my old friends once in a while, but I was always just a phone call away if she were to need me for something. And it took me a while to learn that. It probably took me a good year to learn that. And even Marianne would encourage it. So you got to get out. You got to do things on your own. Your whole life can't be centered around me and my disease. And I really took some time to learn that. But once I learned that, it made our relationship much better because everything wasn't totally centered around Marianne's illness.
Anything in conclusion?
I've been a caregiver now for about 3 years. It's really not as difficult as it seems or as it may appear. There's a lot of tough times. But there's also a lot of good times. There's a lot of bonding experiences amongst you and your sick spouse. And I would tell other caregivers, just hang in there. Be there for your spouse. But like I reiterated before, still make a life outside of your sick home and your sick spouse. And it's really not as bad as it may seem.